Ahoy, fellow viewers! This is another episode of Boat Talk, and today we have a guest, Tuvan, who is one of the co-founders of the jEURnalist. What is the jEURnalist? It is basically a English-speaking magazine for students at Erasmus University. Because what was the problem before is that there was only Dutch magazine, and a couple of students got together and thought it cannot be that way. There's so many international students, we have to do something about it. So they set out last year and founded the jEURnalist, which so far has been quite a success.
Yeah.
They won the IPCOM Awards, for example, last year, which is an award at university. We're going to talk about what the jEURnalist is all about, how they are internally managed, how the guys work together, what they think is the role of media nowadays, and how, we can talk about how we enjoy the student life here in Rotterdam. One of the videos that you might have seen when you watched the jEURnalist was the video called Burger Wars. It was quite famous.
Yeah, very famous.
Guys set out to discover the best gourmet burger in Rotterdam. Check it out afterwards. I think you're gonna like it. So let's start. Tuvan, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is a great setup and I love the room, man. It's really, really nice.
Awesome. So, you are originally from Turkey, right?
Yeah. I wasn't born in Turkey.
Okay.
I am Turkish originally, like both my parents and my grandparents, everyone Turkish.
Okay.
But my dad's a diplomat, so we've moved around quite a lot. So, I am Turkish, but I don't really act as Turkish as you might expect me to.
And what was your decision then to come to Rotterdam?
First of all, it's cheaper than the UK. So that's a huge benefit for me. But also, it's a great city. It's a huge harbor, which is nice because we're sitting in a boat here right now too.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a huge harbor. It's a beautiful city. And I've heard so many great things. My uncle and my cousins lived in Amsterdam for 6 years. So they came here back and forth a bunch of times. And they've always told me great stories about Amsterdam and Rotterdam. So I've always wanted to come and check it out and get the chance to live here.
You came to Rotterdam to study. What do you study exactly?
I study IPCOM, so the International Bachelor of Communications and Media, which is nice because, with the startup like the jEURnalist, being a media student really helps a lot. But I'm in my second year right now, and we have 7 journalists, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, 6 of them are also in IPCOM. So we're a very, very media and communication oriented.
So you are 7 people in total who actually founded the jEURnalist, right?
Yeah, well, we're 7 people who work on it right now. We're basically like the co-founders. But the original idea came from 3 of our journalists. So Gaia, Rania, and Izzy. They were like the 3 founding mothers, basically, of the jEURnalist. They had the initial idea. They were thinking of another student association that they could start. And then Gaia had the idea of starting a news organization, like a news startup. And after they talked about it a bit more, they came to me, Floris, Andy, and they asked if we wanted to join, and Eliana. And I was on board immediately. I thought it was a really good idea, and I thought it's nice because the people get to submit their articles, and I get to write for free. So that's nice. And now we came to where we are now, which is really, really great.
Yeah, you already have now quite a lot of followers from what I saw.
Yeah,
at university.
over 600 on Facebook and quite a bit on Instagram too. I don't know the exact number, so I don't want to mess it up now. But it's been a roller coaster. Like when we first started, we were just talking about this too. When we first started, it was a pretty nerve-wracking because you put the first post out and you're waiting for your friends to say like, oh, what a loser, like why would he do that, or like who spends time on this, like wow. But surprisingly, everyone's been very, very supportive and very nice about it, and people have contributed way more than we expected. So that was really, really nice. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, we'll have a bit more of an influence and a bit more of a reach on the university and the city. So we'll see where the wind takes us, I guess.
Yeah. Now that you already have a kind of view base, looking back, how were the first initial steps that you had to take once you sat together as a group? Okay, let's do this idea. What were the next steps you followed to actually get it going?
I'll be honest. The first time we came up with the idea, it was everyone thought it was gonna be one of those ideas that you're super excited about at first, and then it never follows through. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we should totally do it. Great idea. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And then we thought 2 weeks later everyone would just forget about it. But this is this one was an idea that everyone was really, really motivated for. So from the moment Gaia, Izzy, and Rania told us about it, we were all in, and we were all willing to spend the time and effort to build this up. So one day we all just sat down in our living room and just took out our computers, started writing a few articles, and because if you want to start something, you should have something to post. So we wrote down a few articles, and then we started. We bought the domain for the for the jEURnalist. and we tried to build up the Facebook page and everything, and like it took us surprisingly little time if you think about it, but like the focus that we had there was really nice, and like we were all just talking and communicating and like with the ideas and the brainstorming, so it was like a really nice flow of information and knowledge in that one room, and I mean in the end it turned out to be great.
So you kind of prepared well before you first published everything.
Exactly. And it was weird because like a lot of people had no idea that we were even thinking of starting something like this. So when it first came out, we got a bunch of messages from people saying, "Hey guys, like congrats," or like, "Hey, can I write for you? Can I do this? Like, would you be into an article about like, I don't know, underground music in Rotterdam or whatever?" So a lot of people were very like actually into like joining and like contributing to the jEURnalist when it started. But it was nice, and one of the big issues, and it's actually quite a funny anecdote, like we had, was the name of the organization. Obviously. So before Rania, Izzy, and Gaia told us about it, the name was supposed to be the Humanizer, like humanizer. Yeah, with an EUR because Erasmus is like a humanist. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I thought that was a really stupid name. Like they told me, and I was like, "What is this?" Like obviously we're not going to use this. And we had like a little debate about it, and then. With every debate that happens, someone goes, "Well, if you know so well, then why don't you come up with a name?" And like I was thinking of journalism, so I said, "What about the jEURnalist with the EUR?" And at that moment, everyone seemed to like it, so now we're keeping that name, and I'm gonna trademark it just for myself. So the organization seems to be growing well at a steady pace. So it was tough at first, obviously, with like I said, like with the scare, like with the fear of having the prejudice and everything. Yeah. But I mean, it turned out to be wonderful, so I'm really happy.
Who is going to write about what? How free are you guys when deciding to writing an article? Or is it that you first discuss it with the team? Hey, I want to write about this topic. Do you guys agree?
Well, like at first it was very, very freeform, kind of just like freelance. Anyone who had an idea could just post it or send it to us, and we would like edit it and like post it. But after a while, we decided to have some structure. So now I'm in charge of approving of the ideas, for example. So if anyone has an idea, they come to me, they send me their ideas, and then I say like, "Okay, what about you focus on this, for example?" Or like, I don't know, "Yeah, this is a great idea, go for it." So I approve of the ideas. And that's kind of like how we did the labor division. So, for example, 2 people are in charge of the human resources and like the handling of like interviews and like anyone who wants to contribute to write or whatever. So like they handle those. Then there's someone who's in charge of posting the articles, someone in charge of posting it on Facebook and other social media. Someone else is in charge of basically handling like all internal communications. It's I would say I have like one of the easier jobs because I mean when people come up to me with ideas, they're usually good ideas. Yeah. So I don't really have much to like say no to, and it's surprising. It's really nice to see how like creative and nice ideas people come up with. But now like we have different categories on the side of the website. So like we have on campus, off campus, Rottergems, movie reviews, and like a couple others. So I mean if like people can just look at those. Find a category that they like and decide to write something about it, and they can just submit an idea to the jEURnalist, like the email through Facebook or through personally messaging us. And
what kind of articles are you mostly looking for? And like looking back, which do you think are maybe have had the most publicity, and which ones were really well perceived by the viewers?
We don't really have like a specific type for them. I mean, anything that you guys think is interesting, or like for example, like you're looking through the website, like if you see like an article about, I don't know, like panda sneezes, like like it's interesting for some people, but for a lot of other people it's not going to be interesting, especially because we're focusing on like the city of Rotterdam and the university. It's always more interesting if you have like stories and articles about the university or about something in Rotterdam. Those tend to be a lot more popular. Or like for example, we had one article about IFSA. We had 2 articles about them, and obviously once you share an article about a study association, everyone in that study association reads it and shares it through their own personal Facebook page too. So that gets a huge amount of like reach. Articles that are in that manner or like in that basically category always tend to get more reviews and more like feedback. But every article that gets submitted has over like 100 or 200 views, which is really nice because I mean we have 600 followers on Facebook, which means that over like a third of our viewers look at every single one of the articles we have. The ones that were more successful are always the ones about like study associations or the university in general.
What are the goals that you want to achieve in the next months or years? Did you already think about like how big do you want your viewership to be?
I mean, coming from me, it's obviously going to be the bigger the better, you know, not in any like sexual way or anything. We've gone a pretty long distance from where we first started, so it's really nice to see progress, and we want to keep it growing more. The only setback is, as IPCOM students second year, we're all going to be going internships now. So from April on, I think out of the 7 journalists, we're only going to have 3 left in Rotterdam. That leaves 3 journalists to take care of basically everything in Rotterdam. So it's a huge weight to put on them, and I think that might maybe influence the growth of the organization a bit. But overall, I think that it's going to be perfectly fine, because I mean, we're going to be writing from the countries that we're at. For example, I'm going to be writing from Turkey when I'm doing my internship, and I'm sure the Flores, Andy, and Gaia are going to be writing from their respective internship places too. So we'll have a bunch of different articles coming in. So next year we're basically done with university. So we need to come up with a way to keep it going after we leave. The goal for us right now is 600 followers now. We want to reach 1,000, and maybe obviously have like a bigger influence with the university, because so far we've gotten like a lot of support from the university itself as well. Overall, I think our main goal right now is to just keep it growing.
Did the university, by the way, approach you, or did you approach them with the idea?
In the beginning of the journalist, like no one like contacted the university. Like the university didn't have like any prior knowledge of us starting this, and that's why we were so surprised when they reached out to us. In fact, if you go on the comments section on the journalist webpage, there is a comment left by the director-in-chief and the editor of
Erasmus magazine. I've read it, yeah.
Exactly. So that was like when we saw that, everyone was so excited. Like we have this WhatsApp group with everyone, like of the 7 journalists, and like we started messaging each other saying like, "Oh my God, did you guys see that crazy Erasmus magazine wants to work with us?" So that was really, really exciting. And
I can imagine.
Same thing when the university started following us on Facebook, or when they liked and shared a post that we had. Like everyone was just super excited. We're like, "Oh my God, guys, did you see this? Like we're growing so much." Like, you know, these like small things that cause so much excitement in the group. That's really interesting. Like just one like, and like everyone just goes like completely crazy. Like, "Oh my God, like we're growing so much." What? So it's nice to see that. But I mean, the university like has been very supportive, and they reached out to us with Erasmus magazine and the IPCOM awards too. So I mean, that's been fantastic.
Can you talk a bit about these IPCOM awards that you just mentioned?
Yeah.
There was an award about entrepreneurship and startups, right?
Yeah.
And you guys won that.
Yeah.
Basically.
We were nominated for the best startup award along with 2 other nominees. One of them had an idea about Dutch lessons for international students, and the other one had a music blog, which were both really, really good ideas in my opinion. There was voting, and obviously we did some shameless self-promotion on our website too, where we posted saying, "Please vote for us." And thankfully everyone voted for us, which we're very grateful for. So we won the award, and it was nerve-wracking. Like I have to tell you, man, when we went on stage to get the award, I had this whole speech planned in my head, everything. So, you know, like I thought, you know, okay, like how hard could it be? You just go up and get the award, say thank you, and then leave. So I had this like basic speech planned in my head with a couple jokes. I went up there, saw the whole like IPCOM like teachers and like the professors in the front row, completely like lost everything I had in my mind, and started like making up stuff, and my hands were shaking, and like it was so pathetic. I was so embarrassed, and but it was super fun. Like we won the best startup award, which is a huge deal. Like the IPCOM awards, I mean, they're not like a huge award, but obviously it's really nice to get the recognition of your peers and the students and the faculty. So that was a huge support for us. The only issue now is we're 7 people and we have one little Oscar award. So who's gonna keep it? You know,
can cut it into 7 little pieces.
Exactly. I asked for that too. I wanted the part that said best startup, just the bottom, but. The other journalists weren't too happy with that idea. So, but next year when we're all leaving after university, I'm gonna steal it from someone and keep it in my room. So, yeah, we should cut this part out so they don't know.
The journalist now is basically an online newspaper, right? You don't could take the step to go into printed media, I think.
We have a couple of reasons for that. One, because we think that students spend a lot more time actually reading online news. Also, it's easier because like when you post on Facebook, it's just one click away. You know, you just press the link and it just pops up. So. Like I was thinking to myself, like, you know, those magazines that we see on campus, like they're very interesting, and I see the covers and they look very interesting, and I pick them up to look at it, but like I never want to take the magazine with me because it's extra weight that I have to carry with me. So it's always easier to have it just open on your laptop, and also because printing costs money and we don't make money from the journalists. So.
And you're also kind of sustainable through it because you don't have the paper to throw away.
Exactly. Very eco-friendly. No, but yeah, exactly. I mean. First of all, we don't have the means to do it. Second of all, like I think it's more practical for us to have it online. And thirdly, I mean, if you look at like the news, like the way like media has developed over the years, well, this is going into very like IPCOM stuff now,
Yeah.
but I mean, like we're in the digital era, you know, so like people are more like likely to follow things online through blogs, news websites, news like, you know, websites like news organizations, whatever. They're more likely to follow things on there than they are through print.
How do you see the role of social media nowadays, and this shift that you just mentioned
Yeah,
in media?
yeah.
Where do you see it going in the next years?
It's a rather sad thing, I think, that like social media is becoming so prominent and like so prevalent in our daily lives. But I do think that like it's soon enough like printing, like actual print journalism is gonna be like a dying art. You know, it's gonna be one of those things that like when people see it, they're gonna be like, oh my god, like who prints anymore?
Yeah.
You know, which is sad because like, you know, like when you get a book, for example, like the fresh smell of the book, like when you get the journal, like the newspaper, like the smell of like the printed newspaper, like those are things that like people enjoy. Like I don't want to sound like an old man like reading newspapers or anything, but like those are things that I enjoy as well, you know. So it's always nice to have like those like little like things that like make those experiences so much better. And I think that we're going more and more towards social media, like you said, because it's becoming such a like a more like dominant part of our lives, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all these other like social media things. They're like, that's basically they govern our lives. So, like everything like about my friends I find out on Facebook, everything about like news and everything I can find on Twitter, everything like about like, you know, again what my friends do, Instagram, because I mean everyone Instagrams everything. So also, I mean, if you think about it, like everything about your classes to like your friends, whatever, you find out on Facebook. So Facebook is like by far the biggest social networking site there is. So for us to have like a social networking account like Facebook is a huge deal, because I'm like, when people see the journalist on Facebook, they click the link on Facebook, and like it's just so much easier to access people that way. You know, it's a huge opportunity for us.
Does your study, the IPCOM, does it actually help you with what you do with the journalist? Do you get a like critical view on media in general, or do you learn how to write?
When you study the courses in IPCOM, especially in first year, you think to yourself like, what is this? You know, like this is all theoretical stuff I'm never gonna use. But then this year, when we're doing this, when we're like taking new classes, that's when you like start to think of the stuff that you learned last year, and that's when you're like, oh wow, like it actually does make sense. And like even when I'm writing now, like I think that my writing style has developed a lot from what I've learned, because of like analyzing media so much, analyzing like articles, news stories, videos, everything. You know, like we're so like immersed in this like media environment in IPCOM that like it makes it so much easier for us to understand like what people will like, what people won't like, and like how to appeal to a certain audience, how to not appeal to a certain audience. Like it's very interesting. Like I never thought that like when you study it, because you don't feel like you're learning like that much, you know, because you're always thinking like this is all theory, common sense, I'm gonna know it. But like once you actually have the knowledge in your head, and like, you know, you like let it sit and simmer for a while, and like I don't know, like a couple months after your exam, you like think of something and like it just pops into your mind from like that class. You're like, oh wow, like now I realize how helpful it was. And I can see that with the journalists too, because I mean like 6 out of 7 of us are from IPCOM, and like all of us have these like crazy communicative ideas and like these media appealing ideas or whatever. So like it's really nice to have like that environment. And then one of us is from IBA, so we have the business side and we have the communicative side. So we have like the best of both worlds, kind of, just like Hannah Montana. So
Being a journalist now yourself, what kind of advice would you give somebody who says, I have this topic, I don't want to write about it, but I have no idea how to start it, how to structure it?
It's gonna sound very cliche, but I mean, I don't think there's like a specific like writing style that you should go for. For example, like I try to write the way I would speak to someone. So like obviously a bit like toned down, because I tend to use a lot of curse words. So
take these out.
Yeah, take these out. You know, replace them with more polite words and whatever. So like that's the look I go for in my writing. Like that's my style basically. I just try to make it more conversational, informal. As you write, you kind of figure out what you like the way you enjoy writing, and like when you find like that one style that you enjoy, you stick to it, and like over time, like there's like everyone's writing style has like a group of people that it applies to and it appeals to. So like I'm sure like the way I write appeals to like certain people, but like other people are gonna be reading it and they're gonna be like, wow, this immature loser, like who writes this, you know? It's so much easier when you're enjoying what you're writing. So like for example, if you have an idea about, I don't know, writing about the startups in Rotterdam, and if it's something that you're passionate about, then writing it is going to be that much more fun. So I think the first step is always finding like the topic that you're interested in, and once you have that topic, is just to do like the research that's needed for it, and also like just putting your heart and soul into the writing, because once you write it, like once if you spend a little more extra time on it and like read through it one time and like edit out a couple things, add some things, remove some things, like the writing is going to be so much better than it would be if you just wrote it and submitted it. It's about time, effort, and your passion, like your passions, because once you combine all those three elements, I think like you're going to start to enjoy it more, and then people are going to realize you're enjoying it, and they're going to be enjoying your writing more too.
Yeah. So what are you personally passionate about when you write your articles?
Yeah, movies, cinema.
Cinema.
Definitely. That's a huge passion I have. I watch way too many movies, way more than I should. If I spend half the time I spend watching movies on studying, I think I would be like a straight A student. Basically, that like the broadcast aspect of media is what I'm interested in. But I also really enjoy like I don't know if you were mentioning it to me, the barbershop article.
Yeah,
for
the
example.
barbershop article.
Yeah, like these little little gems in the city.
Could you shortly maybe explain what this was about?
Yeah, of course. I don't want to mispronounce it now. My Dutch is a bit weird. It's the Schohem barbershop. It's located in like the city center and in Indrasplein. It's like a historic one. It's like famous throughout the world and especially in the Netherlands. And I had like pretty long beard at first last year. Like it was pretty disgusting. And my friends kept telling me you should go to this barbershop. You should get it shaved. You should get them to trim it for you. It's really nice, but it's a bit expensive, just so you know. And like I was like, okay, how big of a deal could it be? Like it's just a barbershop. I can trim my beard at home. What's the difference? And I went there, and it was just amazing. It was just like this wonderful experience. You go there, you get beers while waiting, which is already a huge, it was a huge bonus, great start.
Yeah.
So you get that, and then the people there are amazing. Like as someone like for me, like I enjoy growing out my beard, and I love to see like what people can do with their beards. Yeah. So when you go there and you see all these guys with like these crazy long beards, so well kept, so well groomed, and like these tattoos all over, they look so badass. Like seeing all those guys is like it was really entertaining. And obviously like when you go up to talk to the guy who's like, you sit down in the chair and he asks you, what do you want? I was like so scared because I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself in front of this super cool guy now, so I have to come up with something to say, and I couldn't, and I started mumbling these things. I embarrassed myself. And I felt so bad. I was like, no, like this guy thinks I'm an idiot now. Like I can't do this. But like in the end, it was amazing. Like they know their stuff so well. Like those guys are pros. Yeah. And I think it was amazing. Like I would recommend it to anyone. The only problem is, unfortunately, girls aren't allowed in there. Oh, okay. It's like this little policy that they have. It's like a man cave.
It's really man environment.
Yeah, exactly. Like the moment you walk in there, you notice like this like old school American barbershop kind of.
All right, cool.
So that was nice. And the time I went there, CeeLo Green was getting his haircut there, which is weird because CeeLo doesn't have any hair. So like I don't know what he was doing there, but I guess like just for the experience. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him because he left when I was in the bathroom, which is I guess the most unfortunate thing that could happen to you. But like it was a crazy experience. Like like those things that I enjoy writing about because like that's something that I'm passionate about. So like writing about it makes it so much more fun for me. Yeah, I can imagine. And like obviously it's like cinema is one of them as well.
We were just talking about your style and what you like to write about. Could you shortly also explain the other founders of the jEURnalist and what is kind of their area of interest, what they write about?
Gaia, for example, she doesn't like to write. She thinks that she's better at like managing the social media. So like she's in charge of social media for us. She's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's all her area of expertise, and she's doing a great job with it. So. I mean, like that's her area. Izzy's written one article, for example, so far, but she's in charge of posting. And I had to post an article yesterday, and I've never been this stressed in my life before. I don't know how she does it every time with the formatting, with the the featured images, the text, like being the spacing and everything like that. That was impossible. Like it was nerve-wracking for me. So I commend her for being able to do that. Floris and Rania are in charge of like the human resource, so they take care of like the interviews and stuff. Like I mentioned, like Rania is more like the business area, so like she has a lot of people that she knows from IBA who have startups or who work for study associations who reach out to her, or like she reaches out to them about articles and like about stories, so she tends to focus more on that. Floris, like I said, more like lifestyle and politics. So for example, he had an article in the beginning of the year, like the top 3 news articles of the week under 200 words, which was really nice because he sums up the articles for you, and you get like a look at current events and what could be happening there. And also like lifestyle, for example, if you guys have read his article, it's called Sometimes University Sucks, which I thought was really nice because
I read it.
Yeah, because it shows you like the harsh side of university. That like, because I mean, like if you get like shows like Blue Mountain State or like any other like college show, always like show this like crazy like party, drinking, like sex, whatever, like everything in university. and like it's not like that. No, that doesn't happen. You know, like sure maybe in the U.S. colleges, but I mean like here you're so independent. You live on your own, so you have to take care of so many other things. So it's a lot different. And like for us, the university experience is completely different than the U.S. one.
Yeah.
And I think it was really nice like to see like how like people struggle in their first year at university. And like I thought it was a really beautiful article, for example. So he tries to focus on that and the politics aspect. Eliana, she's written the 2 IFSA articles. So she likes to do like interviews with like kind of similar to Rania basically. She likes to do like interviews and like write about her interviews because she's more like a people's person. You know, she likes to communicate. She likes to just go out and talk to people, and he definitely comes up with like the most like innovative ideas. Then we have Andy, who takes care of like external communications for us usually. And for example, he's written an article on BKK, the rappers, and which was really interesting in my opinion because I'm a huge hip hop and rap fan. So that was really nice. And like he takes care of those. Basically, he reaches out to like the more like underground like people that like have like a talent but that haven't been noticed yet. For example, like the Burger Wars was also his idea. So like these things that are like little like gems in Rotterdam like people don't notice or like people can't find. That's all of us. And then we have a lot of contributing writers as well. So for example, we have Alexandros, Anuba, and a bunch of other people who've written a lot in the past couple weeks now. Alexandros has been with us since basically the beginning of the jEURnalist. I think he joined us in like the 2nd week or something, and he's been writing a lot. And he writes a lot about like the events and things that are happening in Rotterdam, which is nice because a lot of times like we don't have the means to keep up with everything that's happening in Rotterdam because it's such a like vibrant city. So like he takes care of those basically, and he writes them, and they're wonderful articles. They get a lot of publicity. And then we have Anuba, who writes about like the little like for example, she wrote about museums, and then she wrote about like her little experience here compared to like India, and like how like how it differs with like, for example, like purchasing things from IKEA and like getting them built here and everything. Like, you know, those little things in society, like the cultural differences that like, you know, would make people say like, what? Everyone has their own passion that they focus on. So like you can't ask for the like. You would never see me writing about politics, for example. So someone else is gonna be taking care of that. But like, it's nice to have so many like different areas that people can read about.
You guys are writing a lot about Rotterdam gems, which are like some unique gems out of Rotterdam or some people in Rotterdam. How do you see Rotterdam? And as a student, do you think Rotterdam is a real student city?
Rotterdam is definitely a student city. While like it doesn't have that many like universities or you know, schools that can like provide you with like this like the student experience. For example, like, you know, you have some cities in the UK with like 2-3 universities in one city, and like you can tell like that they're perfect university like cities, you know. I don't think Rotterdam is as like student friendly as those cities, but I think it's definitely a university city, like a student city, because I mean you have so many things that people can do, like, you know, from the nightlife to like the daytime activities. The atmosphere of the city itself also like so like nice, chill, relaxed, you know, perfect for a student. And I mean, like when I first moved here, for example, someone told me that like in the Netherlands they have a saying where you work in Rotterdam, you live in The Hague, and you party in Amsterdam. For us, we live and work in Rotterdam, and then for Amsterdam, well, you go to party. So it's like it has the vibe of a big city while also not being a big city. So it's perfect.
And which places do you like to go to here in Rotterdam? What could you recommend to other students?
I mean, you've seen the Burger Wars video. I would suggest all 3 of the burger places. They're absolutely amazing.
So check it out.
Especially Termarsh with the award-winning burger. I went there, I think a couple weeks ago with my friend. Man, amazing.
Different experience than McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. McDonald's and Termarsh pretty close for me, if you think about it. But I think I'll have to give it to Termarsh because they won an award. Well, I mean, we're here right now in the harbor, so that's amazing too. Like the sun is out, the water is like beautiful smell. It's amazing. Like I live in Kralingen next to the university, so I don't even notice that there's a harbor, you know, because my life revolves basically around home, university, city center, and back. So like coming here now, seeing this area is really, really amazing. So I mean, if any of you guys are looking for a place to go, this place right here is the place to be. Places that you've been to so many times, like on a different day, like one day it's sunny, one day it's gray, like they have such different like atmospheres. So like one day you might feel like you hate it, the next day you go and you love it, you know. So I think it's such a beautiful city, especially for example with Kralingse Plus. Like when you go during the winter or like when it's gray and raining outside, you feel like it's so depressive, and you're like why did I come here? But then when you go, when the sun is out and shining, it's the most beautiful place. So.
It's so crowded also, like
exactly.
It's like a festival.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But I think that's also because like it's like the weather here tends to be very gray and rainy all the time. So when there is sun out, everyone tries to like pour out and like enjoy it. And I mean, it's the same for me. Like I'm guilty of that too. Like when there's a sun out, I always go on our roof, just lie there and try to like make the most of it.
Sure.
But I mean, like I think it's a beautiful place, beautiful city with a lot of things that I still haven't discovered yet, and I'm hoping to discover. And as I discover them, hopefully I'll be writing about them on the Journalist, and so will the other 7 journalists.
Okay, so I have this one question about Rotterdam, which I try to ask everybody. Is like, how would you sum up Rotterdam in one word or one phrase?
Vibrant and international.
Vibrant and international.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's also, I think international because also of the study that I'm in, because my study is very, very international.
Yeah.
So I'm around a lot of international people. So for me, like the experience I have in Rotterdam is very international. And it's vibrant because, like I mentioned before, like there's always something going on. Like, you know, they call New York the city that never sleeps, which is true. But I mean, Rotterdam is also like a city with so much to offer and so many things that you can do at any time you want. So
it sleeps a bit more than
New York. Yeah, exactly. It gets a couple hours more sleep, but it's still definitely very, very vibrant. So I would say vibrant and international are my 2 words to describe the city.
How can people get in contact with you, with the Journalist? If people, let's say, are interested in writing for the Journalist, who do they contact?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in writing for the Journalist, they can email us at thejournalist@gmail.com. I'm pretty sure we have a new email address right now.
Okay, I'll look it up and I'll post it in the link
It's
below.
info@thejournalist.com. I think we have 2. They're both functional right now, but I would suggest that you send them to both because I don't know which one is being used by our social media expert right now. This is very embarrassing for me, being here not knowing this. You can always contact us on Facebook. You can message the page itself. You can message me or any of the other journalists. Or you can just basically reach out to us on campus if you see us around. I mean, anything to get to us is fine. And I mean, we're always open to new ideas, to new writers, to anyone. So if you guys have any ideas, if you feel like you're passionate about writing anything you want, please come to us, tell us about it. And we'll 99% will publish it because I'm very, very easygoing with the ideas. And if you tell me that you saw me on this video, I'll even give you like a special prize for it. So.
And before we sum this up, is there any feedback you would like to give the show or something you would like to say about the boat? Or
of course, first of all, the boat is amazing. Am I allowed to say curse words?
Yeah, of course.
It's fucking amazing. I just got a quick tour of the boat, and I have to say, man, I really, really envy this. This is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's really nice. I think it would definitely be worth the 25-minute bike ride to school every day. I would do it.
Even with the rain,
like living here, having the water and like everything so open and fresh is just beautiful. I love it, and the show I think is a wonderful, wonderful idea. I'm really glad you started, not just because I got interviewed, but also because I think it's a really, really good platform for like startups and young companies to just kind of, you know, explain why they're doing what they're doing and like what their motivation is. So, like I think it's just a beautiful like idea because it's just perfect for new companies to get their name out there, and especially because I mean, as a student, you're appealing to students as well. So, like with startups, you're always looking for new employees, new people to like support you, and like potential interns and investors, whatever. So, I mean, this is I think like a very, very productive idea, and I'm really, really for it. And I'm sure that like every company that you've interviewed so far in here and you've published are getting a lot more attention, a lot more activity on their social media feeds and, you know, their general activities through this. So thank you, and on behalf of all of them and on behalf of the journalists too.
Thanks a lot for joining me here today in the interview.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I would recommend to all of you to go to the Journalist and check it out if you want to know more about the student life here in Rotterdam, about Rotterdam in general, and just like what these guys are doing. They do a really amazing job. So I hope to see you all soon. There will be more episodes coming up. Have a good day, and Tuvan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Pleasure. Anytime.
See ya, guys.